All right. Hello and welcome back to another edition of Logician Tim Learns with me, your host, Logician Tim. That's right. This is where you get to watch me go from a total gaming newbie to a more informed gaming newbie. How about that? What's up, you guys? I like starting off with my camera all blurry. Come on, dude. Yeah, get there. We've got to work today. I was off on Monday because we had a business meeting. We've been working on our RPG. So we had an awesome business meeting on Monday. And so that's why I was not able to make it. Now, Friday, I might not be around as well. We'll just have to see. I've got another project going on Friday during the day, so I don't know if I'll have time to actually prepare for the stream. We'll have to find out, you guys. So, but I will definitely be here if I can. One thing I wanted to point out was that my stream on, what was it, Friday, of the mechanics and combat, well, I had a misspelling in my title of like the Photoshop picture, like the thumbnail, where it said mechanics, and the mechanics were anything but meh in Judge Dredd. But I just want to apologize for that. That was not on purpose. It was a spelling mistake. Photoshop doesn't have spell check, you guys, and so yeah, it got through on me. So, you know, what am I going to say? What is up, Jesse? You got the popcorn ready over there in Misfits at Tabletop on Facebook. Good to see you, my dude. Good to see you. Yeah, we're going to be talking about some more of this Judge Dredd today. And this is the last chapter in the book that we're going to cover. And that is the GM Guide. This is where they give us some tips and tricks, figure out how to play Judge Dredd the way they want us to play, and give us some kind of advice on running the game. And I like it when they do this. This is usually one of my favorite sections just because I really enjoy just seeing what their take is on who's buying their game and what kind of advice that they give us. I just really enjoy learning that stuff. So that's what we're going to be diving into today. If you have any questions, go ahead and throw them down into the chat. I'll do my best to answer them. If you're watching this back later, throw it down in the comment section, and I usually get back to those pretty quickly as well. If you're watching this anywhere, hit me with a like, share it if you can. If you're on YouTube, hit subscribe. If you're on Twitch, go ahead and hit that heart button up top. I really appreciate it. It does mean a lot to me. And I've gotten some messages here lately saying thank you for the streams, and that just means so much to me. So thank you guys so much for your support, because I do have a lot of fun doing these things. I really do. All right, enough of that. Let's get started. All right, let's flip to page 180 in our book. So we're getting towards the end here. Let's see. Here we go. This is the Game Master Advice chapter. All right. So the GM Guide in the Judge Dredd RPG gives us some pretty good information on running a game. They offer a lot of tips on creating your own adventures and some useful ideas to get you started. And that's kind of what we're going to be covering today. All right. Joe over on Facebook says, hello, Joe and Angela. If you're watching, good to see you. Thanks for tuning in for sure. All right. So campaigns, they start off kind of giving us an overview of just what a campaign is, right? And I think this is nice because, a lot of people are going to be drawn to this IP. Maybe people have seen Judge Dredd, either the movies or the comics that were out forever. And I think a lot of them might not have ever played an RPG. And some are going to want to try to GM for the first time. And, a lot of these people aren't going to know the nomenclature, not going to know what a GM is, or might not know what a campaign is, right? I think it's cool if they kind of start off and tell us that, because it's important just, to not forget about, your new players that you're attracting with your new products, right? And I'm glad to see that Judge Dredd did not forget about the new players that are out there, right? So first, before we kind of just talk about a campaign, let's talk about an adventure. So an adventure is, you can kind of think of an adventure kind of like a TV show where the people get involved in some sort of, predicament or problem and then kind of figure out how to deal with it. So so an adventure would be like one show, right? And out of a series, right? Just one of those shows would be an adventure. Well, a campaign would be like the whole series of that show, where it's going to tell a lot longer story and of the length of like this entire series, right? So I don't know, whatever your favorite TV show is, the Game of Thrones or whatever. So maybe they get into this one kind of adventure during this one show. That would be an adventure. But the entire season or entire, 7 seasons, 7A and B coming out, that tells a much larger story arc, right? And that would be considered a campaign. So that can take, months or even years to complete, right? One thing they do say in here, and I think it's important to note, is that each GM is going to have their own style of preparing, right? And there's no right or wrong way to prepare for a campaign. It really is, just whatever works for you. Some like to use notes, maybe scribbled on like scrap paper, right? Others like to be like super organized and, write everything down in notebooks and file them away in folders and stuff, right? They try to maybe conceive of every possible outcome that the players might pick beforehand, right? Some like to improve or improvise, while others really like to plan, like overly plan, and like enjoy that immense preparation. And it's okay. It's whatever you're comfortable with, and whatever really just gives you the best results. I'm more of a planner. I can do improv, but I'm more of a planner. And excuse me, it seems like the more I plan for things, the better it goes. And if it totally derails, I'm okay with that too. Like I can still deal with that. I can still improvise and keep going, but it like cures my anxiety a little bit, the more I plan. And so I just tend to be more of a planner. And it was just kind of nice to say that, hey, there's no wrong way to do it. You can either be this, or you can be that, or you can be somewhere in the middle, and that's totally fine. And I like that. It makes it less intimidating, right? So there's not any like strict rules about how to create an adventure, right? The players just need something to do, like a goal, an objective, right? So this could just mean, staying alive. Maybe there's a catastrophic event and they just have to survive it, right? Or it could mean that maybe they're investigating this drug ring, trying to figure out who the leader is. But just give them some type of goal or objective. Now, then they also say it's not every game really has to be a part of this large overarching campaign, right? You don't even have to deal with a campaign if you don't want to. You can just simply make new adventures, each session. If you meet once a week, make a new adventure every week. And don't worry about if it tells a bigger story. Whatever you and your group want to do, that is just fine. And I think as long as you, the GM, and the players are both having fun, that's really what's important, right? There's no right way or wrong way really to play it, as long as everybody's having fun, in my book. Okay, so let's switch pages over here. Where are we at? Actually, we're still on this page, 181. So as a GM, though, it is your job to create these adventures. You're going to need to devise a plot, create the bad guys and the locations, right? And in the book, they liken it to writing a mini novel. And I've heard other ones say this, except that you only get to control the NPCs. You don't get to control the players, right? The characters, the players are going to control their own characters. So you don't know exactly where the story is going to go. You're just kind of setting up the setting in which to tell this story. So what you're going to do first here, and I kind of like this, they give us a little, some tips and tricks on how to create an adventure. And they say what you're going to do first is outline your basic plot to the story. So everything is going to develop off this plot. So if your players are judges, maybe criminals threaten to terrorize this city event that's going on, right? If your players are perps, then an illegal shipment of coffee is coming in, because coffee is illegal in this area. So maybe this illegal shipment of coffee is coming in and you have a chance to steal it, right? So just create something for your characters to do or a goal to achieve, right? Joe says Anthrax had a song about Judge Dredd, I Am the Law. Yeah, that's what it's called. Yeah, that is, was that on Persistence of Time or was that before that? It might have been on before that. But yeah, I know, I've heard the song, I do. It's hilarious. It's a great song. I didn't know that was about Judge Dredd. That's pretty cool. All right, so yeah, once you get your kind of plot, your basic idea for a plot down, next you're going to start creating the NPCs and the creatures that your players might run into along the way. So you can either do this from scratch or you can use the ones that they provide in the back of the book. They have this nice bestiary back here of different creatures and NPCs that you can run into. Where is it? It might be actually further up in the book. Oh, here they are. Yeah, so these are different types of NPCs that you can run into. They have already statted out for you all their stats and different types of special abilities and things like that they have. And so you don't have to just create everything from scratch. And I like that because I'm one of those that, I'm going to pretty much use the ones that's in the book for a while at least until I get my feet wet and kind of get the hang of things. And then I might start creating my own characters like NPCs and creatures, right? You can always grab one in there and just rename it, right? And kind of give it some different, looks or something like that. So I think that's cool. That's real easy thing to do if you're a new GM. Just grab something out of bestiary and call it something else, right? Hey, I created my own. Nobody's going to know. So when you're creating NPCs, though, you don't need to spend a lot of time on these unimportant or disposable NPCs. So instead, what you want to do is spend your time on the important NPCs, right? The bosses and those allies that might, come in contact with the players more than once, right? Over and over again. And those are the ones that you really want to spend some time on and give them some unique characteristics, right? Make them have a speech impediment, or give them, a twitch, or a walk with a limp. Give them something memorable that the characters, when they see this limping guy, they'll think, oh, is that so-and-so? Right? And I think that's a perfect way to develop these important NPCs. Give them some flavor by giving them some flaws and just some unique quirks that they have. And I think that's just really memorable, and it helps the players with immersion as well, right? So then, after you've created these NPCs, you're going to want to start thinking about different locations in your adventure. So where are they going to be starting out, right? Are they going to be in the city? Are they going to be, in the barren wastelands? Are they going to be in space, right? And then where are they going to go next? Where are they likely to go next? So start planning out the different locations your players will likely travel to and what will drive them to those locations, right? So, if you're in the city and you're at this one building and they find this clue that leads them to, the barren wastelands over here, then you kind of have to put that, you have to have the location and that clue, that reason for them to move to that next location, right? And so that's why the locations are important. So some of the examples they give us for locations are, I thought some of these were pretty funny. That's why I'm going to list them off. They have a ramshackle trader town in the cursed earth, which sounds cool. They have a deserted and seemingly haunted space station. All right, yeah, I'll be up for that. They have a part of old New York City in the Undercity, which holds secrets of the past. All right, yeah, I can do that. A great university and center of learning could be a location. This one sounds really cool. A zero-G three-dimensional sports field. Yeah, man, that sounds awesome. So just these few little things here that they described to me, all of a sudden I've got adventure ideas popping in my head of some cool things that you could do in or around these locations. I think that's kind of the idea. The possibilities are almost endless in Judge Dredd and the 2000 AD world. I mean, just really use your imagination and set some cool and unique locations for your players to explore and tell those stories in, right? And then once you get your locations pretty much figured out, you can start thinking about adding more flavor to your adventure. And one of the things they tell us is to consider adding an event, which can kind of either be the focus of your adventure or maybe it just happens in the background. And they give us some examples of this. And I think this is a great idea. One of them is maybe that a great science conference is going on in your city or the block, right? So maybe that's going on in the background, or it could be the main focus of it, right? Maybe a trial of a very infamous criminal is going on. That'd be cool. Maybe sudden destruction of a block or a sector in the city, right? Or a sector-wide electricity blackout goes on. And so these type of events can really add a lot of flavor to your adventure. So, I mean, you can almost imagine, starting your characters off and, you're telling about this series of crimes in this particular block or something. And then all of a sudden, the power goes off. And now you have to operate and investigate these crimes with no power. So it's just going to add a lot of variety and flavor to your story and help with that immersion, right? I just think that's awesome that they add that in there. It's something I really wouldn't have thought of, and I think it's just a great tip and trick that they throw in there. And then they talk about, there's all types of weird science in 2000 AD. So they want to remind you that the comics were out for a super long time, which allows for tons of crazy themes. So they say things like, there could be an illegal cloning operation that creates this dangerous gangs of perpetrators. Perps, right? There can be time travel, alternate universes. They say ancient horrors on the edge of the universe. There's magic, there's ghosts and hauntings. So all of these things and more are possible within the world of 2000 AD and Judge Dredd. So don't be afraid to throw in some crazy stuff in your adventures, right? It really is, what do you want to create, and what do you want to put your players through, right? I think that's a lot of fun. So I really enjoyed them giving some tips on how to create, my own adventure, as, because this really is an intimidating task for a new GM, creating an adventure. And so I really enjoy it when they give us tips and tricks for this. And they even go a little bit further in the book, and they give us some tips and tricks on starting our first game. And so they start off just as saying, when you're starting your first game, it's important to establish kind of why the players are working together, right? So how and when did these players meet, in this world? What brings them together? If your players are all judges, then it's going to be pretty easy. You can just say that, they all work for the same precinct or whatever, the same patrol. But either way, the players should all kind of agree on their history and the reasons for coming together on this adventure, right? And so that first kind of meeting, that starting, you're going to just kind of be talking with your group and them talking amongst themselves, coming up with this backstory on how they met and, why they met, maybe the relationship with each other. I think that it's going to play into a lot of RPGs. It's just that player interaction. Maybe, maybe Jay stole, dated my ex-girlfriend or something like that. And, or maybe, there's just crazy stuff that can come up, and maybe so we're not completely trusting each other anymore. Well, that's just great tension to put into the RPG, so that you can have that tension in the game. That really brings it to life, stuff like that. So I think it's awesome. Then one of the things they tell us is to create what they call a one sheet. Okay, one sheet, like one sheet of paper. And so this is basically what it sounds like. This is a single page summary of your setting, okay, that you're going to give to your players, and this is going to tell them kind of what they're going to be adventuring in. It's going to tell them a little bit about what's going on, right? So they tell us it should be short and just tell them like the basic premise, any specific rules or materials that are going to be used just in this one setting. That says to kind of add like an eye-catching name and a piece of art to it, right? Make it pretty, and so that it gets the players interested. And you want to make sure on this one sheet to tell them, key setting information such as where and when this takes place, any type of technology, like especially communication technology that's going on. Are there aliens there or psionics? Those types of things you want to tell your players. For judges, if your characters, players are playing judges, then you want to give them information about the perps in the area, or colorful characters that might be around, crime, black spots, stuff like that is a good addition. Now, if your players are playing perps, the criminals, then you're going to provide them information on the local judges in the area, right? And their rival criminals and gangs, right? Who their contacts might be, and good places where they might go to score some loot, right? Then, citizens, if your players are playing citizens, then they're going to want to know, kind of what's going on their block. What are the events going on near them? What kind of facilities are around? Maybe local rivals, because, blocks sometimes have rivals, even though they're not gangs. Just city blocks sometimes have rivals, right? Maybe there's juvie games and gangs in the area. They want to know who their local judges are, their places and events to visit, things like that. So the idea really here is just get your players excited by providing them with just enough information without giving too much away, right? So you're going to give them that one sheet that's going to have this cool name and this cool picture and just a little bit of information that kind of gets them interested. And I think that's a really cool tip that I haven't seen before. So I like that a lot. Another thing they talk about in here is organizations. And so you can have your players join an organization of some sort. So judges obviously are automatically going to be part of the Justice Department, right? But perps can be a part of, say, like a larger gang, right? And citizens can be residents of the same block or a club of some sort. And the idea really is organizations can provide equipment and to the players, and also like some background to the adventure that you're about to send them on. And I think that sounds really cool. And it can also have its own set of, so if you're in an organization, a lot of times you'll have a counter organization as well. So it can kind of set up its own set of enemies and allies as well. That's going to add a lot more flavor and depth to your adventures. And so I just really like that idea of, not only are these the same type of people, but they're in this organization together that has their own allies and enemies. I think that just sounds like a lot of fun. So, an example of it might be like a team of judges might be on a task force that it was put together to solve this particular rash of crimes in the area. Something like that, I think, just makes for an awesome, like, little mini organization that maybe they get some special gear and privileges, right? I just think that sounds like a lot of fun. Eddie Bianco over on Misfits of Tabletop. What is up, my dude? My favorite logician. What is going on? Good to see you, my dude. Good to see you. So yeah, I really like the idea of putting an organization in your adventure. You don't have to do it on every one of them. I just think it's a cool idea to keep in your pocket, right? They go on to give us some more tips about using props. And so I've heard about this a little bit before, but they give us a couple tips in here that was pretty cool. So it's really not something I would have thought of if they didn't put it into a book. So you can use props to kind of help your players visualize what's going on in your adventure. So some of the things they give us, some of the examples, we're doing like printouts of forensic reports, right? Or eyewitness statements or criminal records of these suspects. You can already have them kind of done out and print them out. And when it's time, you give the piece of paper to your players, print one out for each one of your players, and they can flip through it. I just think that's really cool. So you can also bring things to use as props that, might end up being clues that the players find. Maybe they're doing an investigation. So you could bring like a small bag of coffee, because like I said earlier, coffee is contraband. Maybe you could bring a banned novel and a book and throw it on there. Say this book is banned, or a bingo card, or some poker chips that might be evidence of this illegal gambling ring or something. And it's just a cool idea that gives your players something to hold right there and touch, and that's just going to immerse them that much more into the game. I just really like that. So another thing they talk about is music. And I don't know, like, music sometimes can distract me, especially if it doesn't fit the theme. And sometimes it takes a while, like fiddling, trying to find the right song. And so sometimes that can throw me out of things. It's kind of annoying for me. But, just one thing they wanted to throw in there, like if you do have a particular scene that's coming up, maybe you're wanting them to be, maybe they finally made it home and you can play this awesome, hey, I'm welcome home song, or maybe the tension's really mounting and the boss fight's about to happen. You can have this Flight of the Valkyries or whatever it's called. Ride of the Valkyries, I think it's called, isn't it? Or is it Flight? Ride of the Valkyries. Anyways, you have this, really cool ramped up, pumped up song going on, right? And so that can help with the mood. And so I think that's cool that they threw that in there, because some people might not think about that. And I think that's cool. Then they give us a couple other tips, and these are pretty typical, such as, not railroading your players, right? Don't railroad them into doing what you want them to do. And so basically, if you haven't heard of railroading, this is kind of like giving them the choice of, choose door A, B, or C. And then later on, they kind of find out that they all went to the same place. Or maybe you chose A and that just circled back around to the same place, and they chose B and circled around the same place, and finally they chose C, and then they went on with their adventure. It's like they really didn't have a choice because you wanted them to pick C the whole time. That's kind of considered railroading. And players, they want to feel like their decisions have an impact in the world that they're playing in, right? If they want to go on this like self-imposed side quest, it's really best to just let them. And I've kind of talked about this before. Some of the most fun adventures that you're going to have ever, they're going to start off with a total derail of your plans and your campaign. Just roll with it, man. Just roll with it. You're all going to be laughing. They're going to know that they're derailing your campaign, which makes them have fun. They like to watch you squirm a little bit. You step up on your toes. And I don't know, it just sounds like it'd be a ton of fun, and just people laughing and just going into crazy world. I think that just sounds like a fun time, and people are going to remember those, I think, a lot more than this really well thought out campaign that they chose the right door when you wanted them to, and who cares, right? But the crazy campaigns come from when there's not much of a plan, when they derail the plan, actually. So yeah, just keep that in mind. Don't railroad your players. And then finally, they kind of tell us a little bit about rewards. And so when a judge kind of gets the bad guy, right? They catch the bad guy. They're not really looking for rewards. They're just doing their job, right? But instead, what they are looking for are promotions, okay? Because promotions are going to give them more responsibility and the ability to go after more powerful bad guys, which is what they really want, right? My nose is itching. So they want to go after more powerful bad guys. That's what they want to do. And so you're giving them access to that by promoting them. And so these promotions are also often going to come with new equipment and new technology and maybe some new weapons and stuff like that. And that's always fun. So that's kind of a good way to remember to reward most of your judges. That's not everybody, but a lot of them are. Now, your perps are going to be usually driven by gain, right? Show me the money. So they too can also kind of move up in ranks in their gang and kind of gain additional contacts in the criminal world. And so maybe these contacts are going to help them find crimes with bigger and bigger payoffs kind of as they move up those ranks. And so that's a good way to reward the perps. And then citizens, finally, if your players are playing citizens, then they can be rewarded by either money or getting a reward from or an award from the Justice Department, right? Maybe they help them identify some criminals. And so they're going to be on TV and they're going to get this award, right? And that would be cool for a normal citizen. Maybe they get a new apartment or maybe even a seat on the council or something like that. That would be a great way to reward a citizen. But the main thing here is that you should tailor your reward to the group as a whole and to the type of adventurers your players are, right? So what type of things do they like to be rewarded with? Is this person really concerned about equipment, or is it about money, or is it about fame, or getting the name recognition? And try to pick up on that during gameplay and then reward your characters with those types of things. So maybe if this person really wants to be famous, you can put them on TV and, get the key to the city, right? This other person really likes new types of crazy technology, we'll reward them that way. And you're going to try to be looking out for those types of things during gameplay. So you know how to reward your characters best, right? So that's pretty much it for the GM section. They have this cool chapter here called the Crime Blotter, and it's kind of neat. It's a real short little hooks, like little game hooks, right? That you can kind of throw into your adventures, and there's quite a few of them in here. And so I don't want to read them to you because it would definitely spoil things. But yeah, they're kind of like guidelines to run these adventures. And so it's kind of neat that they threw this in there. A bunch of like little mini hooks that you can throw into your campaigns any way that you want to. So lots and lots of these. Then they have a whole nother chapter on, so you can see how big this chapter is, just on what they call the Crime Blotter. Then they have this whole chapter, which is it's called the State of the Empire. This is a fully made out adventure for you, so that when you start off, you don't have to create that first adventure, something I nag on constantly. I hate it when they don't give me an adventure to start off with. I don't want to create my own from scratch when I've never played this game. No, give me something. And they did in here. They gave us an adventure already written out for you so that you can jump in and start exploring the world a little bit with your players and not have that stress of, not really understanding how things are going to work in the game, right? And how, oh crap, I forgot to do this in my world. Well, it's all right here for you. And I just love it that they do that in these books. And I bust people's games all the time when they don't have that adventure in the game. And I'm so glad to see that they took the time to do that. So yeah, that's about it. Like I said, they have some like kind of mini maps in here for us in this adventure. Like I said, here's the bestiary, I guess as they call it. They call it foes in here, where it has a bunch of the NPCs and stuff for you, all types of different skills and things that they might have, and what they call exploits as well. So yeah, they have a whole bunch of stuff in here. They really did a good job filling this out for a GM to be able to do this. And they have like an appendix. So this is kind of a nice little cheat sheet here that have all these little charts and stuff that I love so much. But I don't have to go back and flip through the book and try to find out, okay, where was that, how many attributes equals how many D6 dice pool? where was that at? No, I can just have this section open, and I have the charts right here, and it's really nice. So I can really tell easily all these nice little charts, and I can just flip a page or two, and I'll have access to all of this information. So I really dig it. I like that they took the time to do that. Give us stats on their weapon, the lawgiver and the lawmaster. That's kind of cool. Their speeds, everything else. And they have the character sheets. And then really that's about it, you guys. I hope you enjoyed this. I really, I kind of liked it. It had its ups and downs, I got to be honest with you. And what I'm going to do next, look at the art on the back, it's cool. What I'm going to do next is on Friday, hopefully if I get to stream on Friday, I will do a report card, because I like to give each game a report card. Just kind of shows how they stack up against one another, and lets you guys quickly know at a glance, like, how did this game do? Is it any good? You can answer all those questions just by watching the one video. I think that's just a cool way to go. So yeah, we'll be doing that next time, hopefully on Friday. Just depends on how long my work day, my project goes on for work, if I'll be able to get to it or not. It might be a little bit late. I don't know. We'll just have to do my best. I'll see if I can do it. And if not, maybe I can jump on Saturday and do that. But yeah, well, next stream is going to be the Judge Dredd report card. And then we have to figure out what's next. So we'll be talking about that here soon. All right. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead and throw them down into the comments section, into the chat. And I appreciate you guys watching so much. It really does mean a lot to me that you all tune in every week and watch stuff, a lot of the same faces, a lot of new people joining as well. I just love seeing that. So anyways, that's it for me tonight. I really appreciate you watching, and we will see you all next time. Bye.